Good morning. This is Julie with Children's Church Shine. Just wanted to let you know that today we are going to start filming our lessons and you'll be able to watch them. So you're not going to miss our lessons, kids. And also, until we can come back to church, you're going to have activities on your page that you're going to be able to do. We're going to give this science experiment that we're going to do today online, and y'all can do it. We're going to have a lot of fun things for y'all to do, so you're not missing out today, okay? Or anytime why we're not having church, because remember, you are the church, not this building, but you're the church. All right, so remember every week that I do a Bible memory verse. Well, we're still doing our same series, so we have our same memory verse. Wow, how does it relate to what's happening? Listen to what it says again, guys. It says, you are the God who performs miracles. We're talking about God. He performs our miracles, right? In this time of day that we need a miracle, God has still performed the miracles. Just because things look bad doesn't mean God's not working. You display your power among the people. What should we be doing? Should we be listening and doing what the government tells us? Yes, Brother Roberts talked about that. That's why we're not meeting in the church, because we have to show the power that God has. And one thing, we've got to show that the government tells us to do things, we have to do them too. So that's why we're not here today. But you can be in your home and you can tell others to watch, because you're going to be able to go onto the Shine page, and you're going to be able to go to the website, parents, or you're going to be able to go to the Annaville Facebook page along with our Shine page, and you will learn how to do that. It's so simple. But look, we're going to have so much for y'all to do that you're not missing out. So today we're going to meet with Shannon. She's right here with us.
Hey guys.
And she gets to do our lessons.
I do. So first of all, I wanted to talk to y'all a little bit. I know things are kind of crazy at home. Your mom and dad or grandparents might be home all day working from home, or they may be grumpy talking about money or talking about this illness that's going around or whatever. But I want y'all to know that everything is in God's hands, and He knows what we're doing. He knows how we're going to get out of all of it, and He's got it all taken care of. So I don't want y'all to worry. So our lesson today is going to be about Daniel. But before we do that, we're going to make some invisible ink. So this is what you need at home, and these are mostly ingredients you'll have if you want to do it. So you'll need some Q-tips, you'll need some baking soda, you'll need some water, and then you'll need some frozen grape juice concentrate. Okay, you find this in the frozen, your parents in the frozen section. So what we're gonna do first is we're gonna make a solution in this bowl. So I'm gonna put a 1/3 cup of water, that's 1/3. 1/3 cup of water, and then 1/3 cup of baking soda. Yeah. And we're gonna put this 1/3 cup of baking soda in this one. Give it a little squish. Baking soda is what your moms use to cook things like cookies and some kind of breads and things like that, okay? So she should probably have that. And we're gonna put that in here, and we're gonna make a solution. That's gonna be our ink, okay? I'm gonna put that over there and put that over there, and I'm gonna stir my solution with the bottom of this paintbrush. It looks kind of slimy. Can you see that? Kind of like milk. I'm gonna stir it real good. And so that is the ink that we're gonna use to write on our paper. So our Q-tip is our pen or pencil, and we just have plain old paper that we can write on. I guess it doesn't dissolve. This is the first time I've ever done this, so we're gonna learn together how this works. All right, I think it's stirred up enough. I don't think it's gonna dissolve or anything. So then we take our Q-tip, and that is our pen or pencil. And so I'm gonna write something on my paper, but I'm not gonna tell you what I'm writing. we'll see if when we get the code out of it with our grape juice, if we can read what it says. See how I'm doing that? Putting it on there. And you can do the same thing at home. Just think you could draw pictures, or you and your brothers or sisters could send secret messages that your parents can't read. How fun would that be, right? But you of course have to be nice. It's kind of interesting because you can't really see what you're writing very well. And one more time, I'm kind of stirring it around and getting that all on there. You know, this Q-tip's getting a little squishy. I'm gonna get a new one for the last word. Check the spelling in my Bible, because I'm writing something from the Bible and I want to be sure I spell it right, because these aren't words I think I've ever written before. Okay, so my paper now has my ink on it. I'm going to dry it for a little bit. All right, now, I wonder how long we need to dry it. While it's drying, I want to tell you a little bit about our story. So there was a king, his name was Belshazzar, and he was not a good king. He did not believe in God, and he didn't believe in what other people told him about God's people. He wasn't very good at listening, and he didn't listen to warnings either. Like, people would tell him, you better believe in God, because if you don't, he can tear your kingdom down. But Belshazzar was not like that. He did not listen. And he certainly did not like Daniel. If you'll remember, Daniel is the one who prayed even when he was told not to pray. And Daniel was the one who was thrown in the lion's den. And he was a servant of God, real good guy. Well, Belshazzar didn't like Daniel because Daniel was a follower of God. And so he's the one we're going to talk about today, Belshazzar and Daniel. Well, Belshazzar, and we are in, if you have your Bible, turn to Daniel 5. Daniel is after Ezekiel in the Old Testament, and we're in Daniel 5. And so, you know how we wrote on our paper in invisible ink? Well, in this story, there's a hand that writes on the wall, and the king doesn't understand what it says. So the king made a big feast, and he invited a bunch of people into it, and he wanted to have a great party. He wanted to drink wine and have lots of food, and it was a big thing. He tasted the wine. He commanded that the vessels of gold and silver that Nebuchadnezzar, his father, had taken out of the temple in Jerusalem be brought in. So he was drinking not just from his glasses, but from stuff he stole from the temple. He was a really bad guy. He brought in the wine. He gave it to his lords and his wives and his concubines so everybody could drink from them. Then they brought in all of the things from the house of God in Jerusalem. And the king and his lords, his wives, drank from them. They drank wine and praised the gods of gold and silver, iron, wood, and stone. So they didn't praise our God. They praised the gods of gold, silver, iron, wood, and stone. Well, you know, just like I know, that those aren't real, that our God is the only Almighty God. Immediately, the fingers of a human hand, wrote on the plaster of the wall in the king's palace. And the king saw the hand as it wrote. Now, that'd be a little weird, right? You're sitting there, and on just some random wall comes the finger, and it starts to write on the wall. That would spook me out. The king's color changed. That means he went pale. Whoa. And his thoughts scared him. His limbs gave way and his knees knocked together. That means his legs got weak and his knees started shaking. He was terrified. The king called loudly to bring in all of his enchanters, the Chaldeans and the astrologers. The king declared to the wise men of Babylon, whoever reads this writing and tells me the interpretation, I will put purple on them. I will give them gold around his neck. I will make him the third ruler in the kingdom. All the king's wise men came in, but they couldn't read the writing on the wall. They could read it, but they didn't understand it. What were those words? So we're gonna stop there for a minute, and I'm gonna take my invisible ink writing, and I'm gonna open the frozen grape juice. I'm gonna get a little shake to make sure all the stuff is stirred up in there. You know how when you get juice out of the fridge, if you don't give it a little shake, you might just get like separated juice. Oh, I think that's what, there we go. We don't want to do that. So we always shake the juice, right? That's what we do at our house anyway. All right. Oh, I have to be very careful with this. This looks like if it got on my clothes, it would stain them. Look at that, y'all. And look how thick it is. It's thick like paint. Oh boy. So there's the stuff we're gonna use to paint on our paper and see if we can figure out our code here. So I'm gonna take my paintbrush. I don't know if I should dip it. Oh, looky there. Do y'all see what's happening? So there are my letters. There's my first word right there. See that? It's kind of hard to see because there's so much. There we go. Check that out. There's my letters, M-E-N-E. And then I wrote the word again because this was the writing on the wall that King Belshazzar saw. There. If I do it that way, we can see it a little better. So the finger wrote Mene, Mene, and this was the next word, Tekel. See it? That's really cool. If I could have done this when I was younger like you, I would have so been sending secret messages to everybody. And then the last word is parson, kind of like parsley, but parson. And there it is. So the finger wrote, Mene, Mene, Tekel, parson. Now, I know that our secret message, you can read it, just like those guys could read it on the wall. They could read the M-E-N-E or the whatever, but they still didn't know what it means. Just like you don't know what it means either yet. But the Bible's going to tell us what it means. So here's our letters, our words that we're going to look at. So the writing on the wall was up there. Belshazzar called in his men, his astrologers and magicians or whatever he believed in. None of them could help him. He even offered them purple robes and gold chains and maybe even a place in the kingdom for him, and none of them could do it. Then the queen, because the words of the king and his lords, came into the banquet hall, and she said, King, live forever. Let not your thoughts alarm you or your color change. She's like, don't be scared and don't get all pale. I know a guy, she says. There is a man in your kingdom whom the spirit of the holy gods has. In the days of your father, light and understanding and wisdom, like the wisdom of the gods, were found in him. And King Nebuchadnezzar, your father, made him chief of the magicians, enchanters, Chaldeans, and astrologers, because an excellent spirit of knowledge and understanding in explaining riddles and solving problems was found in this Daniel. So the queen says, hey, I got a guy for you, and I really think he can help you. So she tells the king. She says, now, come on, let Daniel interpret what's going on with the wall. So Daniel was brought in before the king. So the king listened to the queen and said, okay, Daniel can come in. The king answered and said to Daniel, you're that Daniel, one of the exiles of Judah, whom the king, my father, brought from Judah. I have heard of you and that the spirit of the gods is in you. Now, he's the spirit of the gods, but we know really which God it is, our God, God Almighty. And that light and understanding and excellent wisdom are found in you. Now the wise men and enchanters have been brought before me to read the writing on the wall, but they can't tell me what it says, but I know that you can. So if you've gotten lost, we're still in chapter 5. Oops, I turned too many pages. And we are in verse 16. And so he tells Daniel the same thing that he told his magicians. If you can do this, I'm going to give you a robe, and I'm going to give you a gold chain, and I'm going to make you third in commandment of the kingdom. Daniel answered and said before the king, I don't want your gifts. Let your gifts be yourself and give your rewards to another. Nevertheless, I'll read the writing to the king and make known the interpretation. O king, the most high God gave Nebuchadnezzar your father kingship and greatness and glory. And because of the greatness he gave him, and all the people and nations and languages trembled and feared him. Whom he would, he killed, and whom he would, he kept alive. When he would, he raised up, and when he would, he humbled. So Daniel says, listen, I really liked your dad. He was a good guy because he did things that he was supposed to do, and he learned from his mistakes. But unfortunately, Belshazzar didn't do those things. Belshazzar, when he was warned, he really didn't listen. And Belshazzar went ahead and got the stuff out of the temple that he shouldn't have and fed all of his people wine. That's just one of the things he did. He was very disrespectful to God. We don't do that. I'm down in 21. He was driven from among the children of mankind, and his mind was made like that of a beast, and his dwelling was with the wild donkeys. He was fed grass like an ox, and his body was wet with the dew of heaven, until he knew that the Most High God ruled the kingdom and sets over him. And his son, Belshazzar, have you not humbled your heart, though you knew all of this? So he says to him, Nebuchadnezzar had to go through some trials before he believed in God. And he's like, you should have learned, Belshazzar, from your dad. But he didn't. Belshazzar, he said, you've lifted up yourself against the Lord, and the vessels of this house have been brought in before you, and your lords, your wives, your concubines have drunk wine from them. And you've praised the gods of silver and gold and bronze and wood. You have not brought honor to God. He said, but I'll tell you what this hand says. You're not going to like it, but I'm going to tell you. He said, this is what the inscribe said. Mene, mene, tekel parsin. And so that's what I wrote on my paper. Mene, mene, tekel parsin. This is what it says. So Daniel says, mene means God has numbered the days of your kingdom and has brought it to an end. So mene means your kingdom is going to fall. And he said it twice. Mene, mene. Then he said, tekel, you have been weighed in the balances and found wanting. In other words, he said, God has weighed what you've done, and you haven't done a good job. You've failed. And then parsin, your kingdom is divided and will be given to the Medes and the Persians. So he says, you don't have a kingdom any longer. God has divided it, and one part is going to go here, and one part is going to go there, and you have failed. Belshazzar gave the command, and Daniel was clothed with purple, and a chain was put around his neck, and a proclamation was put about him that he was the third ruler. That very night, Belshazzar, the Chaldean king, was killed, and Darius the Mede received the kingdom. He was 62 years old. So Daniel told him the truth. The writing on the wall said, this is what's going to happen. And that very night, that's what happened. You know, the Bible always has truth in it. Sometimes I make mistakes. I could pronounce words wrong or whatever, turn to the wrong page. But you know, every word in the Bible is right and everything is true. And Daniel told Belshazzar, this is what's going to happen to you. And it happened. So does that mean we need to be fearful of things that could happen to us? No, because remember our memory verse, you're the God that does miracles. Nothing is stronger than God. He has the best power, the most power. So he's the boss of everything. And so in our story tonight, Belshazzar was a bad guy and he deserved what he got. And sometimes we misbehave and we deserve punishment. But because we're followers of God, when we believe in God, God is going to take good care of us. Belshazzar, remember, didn't believe. And so that's what made punishment fall upon him. punishment can't fall upon you when you're a child of the King. If you have Jesus in your heart and he loves you, and he does even if you don't, but if you have Jesus in your heart, it makes you feel so much better. So I just want y'all to remember that. Do this experiment at home, and you can take pictures and send them to me. That'd be fun to do.
Man, Shannon, that was so awesome. I
Good.
even get to learn things during children's church.
Me too. I get to learn and read the Bible, and I love that because there are
Yes.
stories that I remember when I was younger, but I don't really remember all the stuff. So when I go back and I learn to teach y'all, I learn so much myself.
I know, and that I wish I had that when I was a little girl.
Me too.
And I could have had so much fun with my friends.
Me too.
All right, you know what, guys? If we're not back here next week with everybody, we will be doing this again.
Yes,
Right,
we
Shannon?
will.
Yes, we had so
Yes.
much fun.
And I hope that y'all do this at home. I hope
Me
that you have
too.
all this stuff. It's very simple. Do this at home. Don't make a big mess.
Yeah, help
And,
mom clean up that
yes.
mess. You know how I am. I tell you, help mom clean all the time.
And have a good time with it.
Yes, and also, you're gonna have some fun activity pages coming up, and just keep watching for those on the Shine Facebook page, on the Annaville Facebook page, because we want y'all to have a great time. While you can't be with us, we still want you to have fun with God.
And hopefully we'll be back soon. We can give everybody high fives and hug your necks and
Yes.
have snacks and children's church, and everything will be right back to where it was before.
Yes, because we miss y'all so much.
It's sad.
We do. And you know what, Miss Shannon, we can just love on them by this.
Yes,
Letting
that's
them
right.
see this.
Perfect time.
So I guess we're through for the day, but we want you to let your light shine, and we want you to be the church, because we don't need a building for that.
That's right.
We love y'all, and we'll see y'all later.
Sounds good. Bye, guys.